Today's webinar will be presented by Kartik Amrania, Head of Building Sustainability Department at Sweco UK. Kartik is involved in developing energy strategies that evaluate solutions relative to cost, logistics, energy and carbon reductions. In this webinar, Kartik will provide an insight into the development of the Bloomberg headquarters and his experience working on such an innovative and revolutionary space. So as usual, there will always be time for Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So do submit your questions, in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen in the chat box. So thank you for your attention, and please stand by because this webinar will be starting shortly.
Hello, everyone. I believe my introductions are all down there, so I'll go straight into the presentation. We are going to talk about Bloomberg, which is the highest rated BREEAM office building in the UK. I'm going to take you through a very short introduction about Sweco and build a bit of a background in terms of how the building was innovated and how we arrived to so many innovations in design and how BREEAM was built up. So Sweco is, in a sense, a European firm. It's Swedish consultancy is the full form of it. We are very much in major parts of Europe, especially in Scandinavia, and that's the essence of Sweco. In UK, we've got 12 offices, 700 employees and growing. And in all major cities, what we do everything which is engineering, apart from architecture in UK. Sweco does a lot of architecture outside UK, and that's pretty much done about Sweco. We're not new to BREEAM. High rated buildings are not something which is a surprise. We've delivered many outstanding rated buildings in the UK. In fact, that's why we were Company of the Year 3 times on basis of highest number of outstanding rating building delivered in UK. We are dominating in European market as well. Example, Poland. We cover nearly 50% of the BREEAM market. Bloomberg building is almost a culmination of our experience of delivering various outstanding buildings, predominantly in UK. 1 Pancras Square, 3 Pancras Square, 4 Pancras Square, very much grade A office building in line to Bloomberg, and then 5 Pancras Square, which is unique in design, BREEAM outstanding building, which is the Camden's headquarter office. A very fine example of sustainable modern building. So straight into Bloomberg, highest rated score of any office building in the UK. It has first for design innovation approved by the BRE, which is the breathing building design, which is natural ventilation in integration to cooling, integrated ceiling, a ceiling which is which delivers cooling, heating, and acoustic and lighting all in one. Vacuum drainage, cooling tower water recycling. All these are building first technologies being innovated by Bloomberg and awarded as first innovation by BRE. The building has already picked up a few awards. Bloomberg has been named the Corporate Workplace of the Year by BCO at London Awards 2018. So Sweco's role was quite embedded, bit unusual for consultants to be appointed directly by client, which was the case with Sweco. We were appointed by Bloomberg directly, and we helped Bloomberg in selection of architects who were bidding for the project. So we were involved heavily in the building concept and client brief. This, I would say, is the essence of a sustainable building, where sustainability consultants are influencing the client directly. Mechanical, electrical services, sustainability and thermal modeling, which is obvious. BREEAM certification, fire engineering, very critical, and vertical transport, and we are currently helping the clients in commissioning at the moment. So the concept of Bloomberg, the concept from the class office building. Um, Entities like Bloomberg would like to retain their staff. They would want to give their staff best possible workspace to work in. The idea was to deliver a very good example in sustainable building design, drive innovation in building industry. That was one of the key criteria of Bloomberg, and make a building which is example of future, which reflects the ethos of Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg been quite heavily involved in the UN and a very fine advocate of climate change. Wanted to make an example of his building, and that's what the client brief pretty much was. Um, uh, a slide perhaps I should have added, but the project manager of the building was Catherine Malone. Some may know her. She is the former deputy commissioner at the New York City Department of Environment Protection. That kind of says a lot in terms of how serious Michael Bloomberg was in terms of achieving high sustainability grade. A quick quiz here. Do any of one of you know the importance of the archaeological importance of the Bloomberg site? Anybody there? Do you, do you know what the? Oh yes, indeed. I've got one answer there from Adam. It is indeed the old Roman temple of Mithras. There's a route there, which is the ancient Roman route, which has been resurrected between the two buildings. It's open to public as well. A must visit really. And we've got the old river and brooks, which are kind of been erected on the site there were. So Bloomberg did pay a lot of attention to this, and it's a very beautiful museum now. So Bloomberg, in a sense, is culmination of many innovations which have gone in the building design. I'll need perhaps half a day to talk about all of it. What I'm going to do is highlight few of them which I believe are very high impact on sustainable building design, and um, also examples which could be replicated by other buildings and buildings of future. Vacuum drainage, approved innovation by BRE. Cooling tower water recycling, again an approved innovation by BRE. Integrated ceiling design, sit-in standing desk, which perhaps we believe will be a norm for future, given the whole initiative well building standards going about in industry, and magnetic flooring, which I'll talk about a bit more in depth. These innovations we believe will set precedents for buildings of future, and definitely will be replicated, apart from obviouses like just going back in slide, breathing building design, PV panels which are integrated, bio roofs are turning into very much common, and waste heat recovery and things of that sort. So vacuum drainage, we strongly believe this is a leap in sustainable design. 80% reduction compared to standard dual flush. There's a chart there which shows typical propeller vacuum drainage comparison right at the top. I'll just move the mouse there. That chart just gives you an idea of the scale of water reduction vacuum drainage is doing. We are at a point in not just in London, but in Europe itself. We are heading towards a water crisis. Water is a commodity which, if I may use this word, is abused. Water is far too cheap and it's been wasted. We will face severe shortages as we lead into year 2050, and the population rises throughout Europe and even London. Same is reflected on drainage. Drainage capacity is almost saturated. This is what vacuum drainage tackles, and we would hope this system will become a norm. It saves 25 million litre in first year of operation itself. Whatever little water the vacuum drainage uses, example, this system is very much similar to the ones you see in trains and aircrafts. So very little water it uses. That water is also being harvested via rainwater harvesting system on site, and there is a in situ wastewater recycling, which is the water people use in wash hand basin. That water gets recycled, and that water is getting used to carry out the water, whatever little flush is needed for the vacuum toilet. So just to highlight, it pretty much has zero portable freshwater use. So a huge reduction in water there. Cooling water recycling, just to give a bit of a technical background there, a lot of buildings in London use the water-cooled chillers, and water-cooled chillers have these huge cooling towers. Don't want to get too technical. Cooling towers at the top, and 25 to 30% of the water gets straight down in the drainage. This is the water which is collected in the sump and never gets recycled. So this water is recycled in Bloomberg, and it gets reused inside flushing toilets. So the essence of this is the portable water use to be very effective and conserved by this innovation, and we are hoping cooling manufacturers do take this up quite seriously, and future cooling towers come with the recycling as a norm. So summing the whole water strategy up there, 25 million litre sailed annually, equivalent to 10 London Olympic pools for fresh water being saved. Integrated ceiling design, in a sense, this is quite. Of course, this was quite unique to Bloomberg. I'm by no means stating this will turn into a bit of a norm and people using this very fascinating design elsewhere, but it could be replicated in simple terms in many sense. It enhanced cooling by high surface areas, acoustic sprinkler design, detector, lighting, all of it integrated into this factory-made integrated ceiling design, which was made off-site, brought along on-site and installed. It provides enormous amount of flexibility for future application. Easy to remove the ceiling within hours and replace it by perhaps something else, or even future change of use of the space or the building itself. It supports circular economy by a potential very high potential of reuse of these panels, and given its aluminium could be recycled quite effectively. So it's again classed as innovation. And to highlight, the lighting is perhaps one of the lowest level of lighting we've ever seen, 4.8 watt per meter square. It's been achieved by working very closely with the providers and our engineering teams here, and it's single individual LED lighting integrated inside the panel. Sitting standing desk, perhaps quite way in advance. The desk were planned back in 2010 or even 2008. It's 100% throughout the office space. We believe this will be a norm of future, and we hope this is norm of future to support well-being of the staff. Magnetic flooring, Bloomberg. We believe it's much more popular than than it was now. It is getting innovated more and more. In a sense, this is wooden flooring with a strip of magnet underneath it. Very, very simple in design. It gets fitted straight away on the floor, which is the raised floor, and it could be quite easily manipulated and moved as well. Provides enormous amount of flexibility in the space. The most important part on sustainability terms was material waste of the magnetic flooring, and also reduction in VOC, a huge reduction in VOC, where you don't need any form of glue whatsoever for these floors. We would again hope these floors turn into norm. They provide flexibility and also potential for reuse if they're stripped back. Our team worked very closely with the suppliers, and one of the most critical part for us was testing the impact of magnetic flooring on the electronic equipment, and the testing has proven to be successful. So any of you are designers and looking at wooden floor, perhaps worth thinking about these magnetic flooring. Something to highlight here. Bloomberg has many innovations. I've just talked about a few of them here. Project program was very critical, and just a word of warning: if you're thinking about innovation, do allow for testing with a generous margin. So, example here, the acoustic of vacuum toilet was of a great concern. We did carry out detailed testing on the acoustic of these vacuum toilets. So did Foster's and Partners carried out detailed analysis. You can see the picture there of the fluid dynamics being tested for the breathing building. Our engineers were closely involved in the mock-up for the lifts, which was again quite innovative design. A lot of these innovations are published quite widely inside the SIBSI journal and even the PNHE journal, Public Health journal. Details of these vacuum toilets and breathing buildings are published there, to give designers insight on how these technologies can be replicated. A very quick touch on the energy of the building. The building produces most part of the energy on site. It has combined heat and power unit, which were at the time the best solution for the building. They run on natural gas and have low NOx scrubbers fitted in them. They do heating and hot water, and they also generate cooling, which is via the absorption chillers. Recovers enough waste heat to satisfy a small town of 200 households. It's the carbon saving is as good as driving a car about 120 times around the globe. I'm going slightly off topic here, just to give you a bit of an insight on the biggest challenge the designers faced was the people movement of 4,500 Bloomberg staff who are now starting to occupy the building. The people movement was a big challenge. The picture here, what you see is the staircase, which is a symbol of Bloomberg as well. So the top view is the symbol of the Bloomberg logo there, and it caters for people movement throughout the building. In a sense, what's the concept was very much for the horizontal tower concept, because Bloomberg have their headquarters offices in New York, which is a vertical tower. The challenge was here to replicate a horizontal tower where people come through to the pantry area, which is on the first floor, and then get redistributed using the central stairwell to the floors above. So that posed a major challenge. Such sort of design brings bespoke fire engineering strategies. I won't go into much depth of it, but we it was a hard work for us, doing a lot of computer modeling to innovate the fire engineering for the design. Especially there's a unique vortex design which is made up of wooden panels inside the entrance of Bloomberg building. It was a very stiff challenge in fire design and placement of sprinklers, but all been quite successfully achieved here. I think I'm just leading towards the end now. Uh, Of, of some the whole Bloomberg concept out here. The essence of the Bloomberg building was forward-thinking developers and the client. The developer very much intended to deliver a building which was a mark in sustainable design. Outstanding rating was from the outset. It wasn't where they were trying to build an excellent building to satisfy the planning requirement, and they saw a surge in the market delivering outstanding building, and they jumped on the bandwagon. Nothing of that sort. Outstanding building was very much the target. Team collaboration is very critical to deliver buildings which are high sustainability ethos. Without teams working together, it's a hard task. It's almost impossible to deliver a building which is high in sustainability ethos. Low carbon energy center, very critical. BREEAM also has basic markers in terms of setting out rating limits for outstanding and excellent buildings. So low carbon energy center is very much the top priority to tackle an outstanding building. Our BREEAM APs are designers, so in a sense, few of our directors are BREEAM APs. They understand BREEAM, they understand sustainability importantly in depth, and when they are with the design teams, they are embedding the sustainability ethos right at concept stages. Review of green material at concept stage. What we see is architects and designers get quite early on the design. They've fixated their minds on certain material, and the design becomes very rigid. This is what was not the case with Bloomberg. The material was looked into very closely at concept stages. Of course, you have the aesthetic look, and you have a limit in terms of your planning as well, in terms of what you could have in terms of facade and internal finishes. But this is something definitely we would say needs to be done at concept stage. Mixed mode ventilation and daylight design. This has to be at concept stage. It cannot be retrofitted inside buildings. Any fitting will not go down. Will prove to be a struggle. This is what I could say. Flood risk. Flood risk ecology, this needs to be looked at infrastructure stage and not building level. This is what Bloomberg benefits from. It's two-wing building design. I wouldn't call it a big master planning project, but 1 million square feet is a substantial size building, and we do look into it in terms of integration between the two buildings. Life cycle analysis to address the design. Life cycle analysis is turning into a norm for BREEAM 2018, and this is what has played a very important role in Bloomberg building. Something I would say a pinnacle of our success were the early design guidebook which we've produced by working with the University of Bath and other research institutes. These are culmination of our experience of delivering outstanding buildings. So these guides contain actual live examples of buildings which designers would warm up to, and compared to just reading through the BREEAM guide. We have set of examples which we work with and show them what how it's been done in past. So that's been one of a very important part of our success. thank you, everyone. I think I've gone a little bit quicker than I should have, but hopefully I can answer a few questions. Given I've got a bit time here to hand.
Thank
Rihanna,
you,
please.
Kartik. No, just that was great. That was a whistle-stop tour, but you definitely covered an awful lot. So thank you for doing that. And there are a couple of questions that have come in. So yes, you have left us lots of time for Q&A, which is great. Just to go back to one of your first initial slides where you look at all the different innovative approaches that you can apply to a building like this, and which you then indulged in the five in more detail.
Yeah.
How, yes, this one, thank you. How achievable are a lot of these for smaller businesses that don't
Small
have
businesses.
necessarily the budget and things? How easy are they to implement?
That's right. Rihanna, I'll just go a step back. Essentially, what was done was there were a list of 40 innovations which were identified. Um, I can very well see similar process can be adapted by others as well. It's a matter of willingness and that due diligence which needs to occur. So 40 innovations were identified by Sweco team. We literally opened up, had a bit of a competition within entire Sweco offices, and a list of 40 items came through. Then out of 40, we straight away 20 of them were, too ambitious or just perhaps the word absurd. And so 20 of them knocked off very quickly, and 20 of them taken very seriously. And beyond that, a detailed cost analysis was done. So one example of technology was strain gauges. It came from me, apparently. Strain gauges to be placed in walkway areas where there's high people movement, and that produces electricity. So detailed, cost analysis against the benefit was carried out, and it resulted into not being viable. So Bloomberg, high budget building, but very, very cost minded. Um, Similar process can be adapted by others as well. So now that's one part of story. Um, Say example like of vacuum drainage. When immediately when it's pretty much the mindset towards vacuum drainage is, oh, vacuum drainage means high cost. Um, what needs to be understood is drainage as it stands is perhaps when humans started designing buildings, they depended on gravity to move the sewage away, and the concept has not changed. Where there are toilets, you need a hole at the bottom, and you need to be toilets need to be attached to the cores. The buildings almost get designed with toilets in mind, it's a rigidity. Um, if you're building in city like London, space is at premium. So vacuum toilet provide enormous amount of flexibility. Vacuum drainage pipes could go inside the ceilings. Vacuum drainage pipes can go inside the walls. You could have the toilet right in middle of the open plan space. So you are freeing up space in a huge amount, and that in turns covers up the cost. Um, so it's a matter of not just looking at the looking skin deep into these innovation, and we strongly believe it's very much possible to apply it to even low budget projects as well.
Okay. So having considered the vacuum drainage and how actually applicable it is to many constructions, have
Yeah.
you seen a large uptake in the use of this, or at least a
Um,
large consideration of using this?
we all consideration is to a point where all of our major jobs are looking at vacuum drainage.
Okay.
Every time I've done presentation, we had a huge spike in inquiries about vacuum drainage, and we have quite a way of service where we can help other consultants as well in terms of helping our service engineers could help them to innovate these systems. So we are seeing a huge uptake. Rihanna, it's at a point where we're going to see uptake driven by clients, but this is my strong belief in terms of what data I have read to date. Within 10 years, it will turn into a norm. It has to.
Okay.
It can't, potable water can't be flushed down the toilet.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so it's exciting. I've got a question from Jonathan Chenoweth, who asked how did the construction costs compare to a typically built building of the size, and how
Mm.
do the running costs compare?
Jonathan, see, it's tricky question because there are the construction cost is kind of in two parts. The ethos. See, what we need to understand is this the client is Bloomberg. The office, the intention of this office is to make a brilliant environment for their staff because obviously a consortium like Bloomberg want to retain staff, so they have made heavy investment in that direction. Um, so it's hard to compare in terms of like to like basis. So that's where a lot of cost has gone in for that well-being of the staff. So if you go inside the office, the views, the material they've used is very much to provide a high level of comfort to the staff. So if your question is in terms of has the innovation burdened the cost, the answer is no, because all of these innovations were looked into in terms of what do they provide. So vacuum door, it has freed up space, enormous amount of flexibility, the combined heat and power unit. What is the running cost? What amount of energy it saves? So it's I would say it's wouldn't use word cost saving, but it's there or thereabouts to a similar size building. I would have thought. The running cost building is we are just about seeing running cost coming about, and we believe it's to a point very much in line to the King's Cross buildings. So it's it's in line. Having said that, uh, to a term it might be better because the amount of servers Bloomberg has, not to forget their studio, the Bloomberg TV studio is inside there too. So I would say it's definitely consuming less energy, particularly the lighting. It's never been seen before. 4.8 watt per meter square, saving tons of energy there. But we will
Okay.
know more in a few years' time.
Yeah, yeah, I can appreciate it's still in its first initial stages, isn't it? We've had another couple of questions that are quite similar,
Yeah.
looking at the status, how the building is doing now that it's actually occupied. Has any data been run on post-occupancy evaluation and how effective it is, essentially? And is Sweco involved in that in any way?
We are, Rihanna, we are quite closely involved. In fact, I get the copy of the bill every month. It's still a very early days. The building is not fully occupied. It just started towards the end of last year. So a large building of this sort, it's a bit early days for a post-occupancy evaluation. But initial reaction from people is very much it was expected. It's of wow. The temperatures seem to be very much even, and it's the response so far has been very positive. But the commissioning is still not 100% concluded. It's still ongoing. So I would say this time next year we'll have a proper clear gauge of how the building is operating, how the various areas of buildings are operating. It's 1.5 million square feet, so it's some while before we get that information through.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so, like you say, the first initial reaction from occupants is that it's quite impressive and a nice place to work in.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, the kind of
yeah.
functionality of it and their familiarity with it is still yet to be determined, and
Correct.
how easy it is for the users to actually engage with.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it overwhelms people at times because you go into that double height space and the view you see outside is St. Paul Cathedral's dome. It does take you back quite a bit. Even the stairwells. So it's really. It has captured fascination of the end users at the moment.
Okay. Brilliant. Yeah, it's definitely a space I'd like to go and see. And definitely, I don't know if everybody saw it, but there was a link that was posted by Adam about the Roman temple. So
Oh
yeah,
yes,
if you are passing, definitely go and take a look. So
absolutely. Thanks for that, Adam. Um, site visit, Adam says, unfortunately is fully occupied. The investment bankers are very stressed and won't like people loitering around in the building, perhaps. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's possible. But the museum is open, and when I first saw it, it was I was completely stunned. I've seen the building come ground up, and it was at mid-level construction. I went there, and it's a fascinating site. I would highly recommend a visit there. It does talk about how rich London's culture is, and how many how ancient London is.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And the fact that you discovered that in the process is really, really exciting.
Yeah, a lot of artifact came surfaced out, and these artifacts are on the site where they've been discovered. So that's brilliant.
Wow. No, definitely on the list to see. So that's the end of our questions. So unless anybody else has got anything else to add, I'd just like to thank you, Kartik, for presenting with us today. It was really interesting, and I definitely think that you've inspired a few people that might go and actually go and have a look at the building itself. But yeah, thank you all for listening, and thank you to Kartik.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.